Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. Along with Gerald Wofford, I'm Jason Salzman, welcoming you into another great program. Got a great one lined up for the folks today.
Absolutely, Jason. We welcome you on this first Saturday of August to Native News Today. And you know what, Jason? Those dog days are kind of upon us, but you know what? It hasn't really been too hot.
No, not too bad. It's getting towards football season.
There you
and
go.
We'll have a little bit, some football-related stuff, as we always do, as fall practices get started and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So be ready for that in the coming weeks. But this week, we got some great stuff for you. We traveled around a little bit, went to the ITEC conference this week. We got a little feature with some guys, talented Oklahoma City native rappers doing some big things nationally. We'll have that a little bit later on, too, and a new exhibit in the Five Tribes Museum. But first, we're going to take our first break. We'll come back, and we'll have Gary Fife from Muskogee Nation News. He's going to be with us for our first segment here on Native News Today.
Pumakasam gadat, ibufanga, nage, adigat, punhayadi omega, ajayididet omis.
Diosnok, that's true. Throughout the generations, our elders have taught us to preserve, share, and more importantly, protect the abundant natural resources we have here in Oklahoma. We are the original environmentalists and protector of these resources. The Muskogee Creek Nation believes tribal and state governments must work together to ensure future generations will have clean air and clean water as the ultimate legacy. What is good for Oklahoma tribal nations is good for all Oklahomans. Remember, tribes are truly the original Oklahomans.
And welcome back to Native News Today. And now we have a special guest in studio, editorial assistant at the Muskogee Nation News, the official publication of the Creek Nation, Mr. Gary Fife, and a great reporter for that publication. So wanted to have him in studio to talk about some things that have been going on around the tribe, big newsmakers. And just to catch you folks up to speed, a couple years ago, Creek Nation bought the historic Creek Council House Museum from the city of Altmalgee. Apparently, though, didn't buy what was inside of it with the museum, and a good number of artifacts have actually been shipped off for auction. And it's causing a little bit of a stir with citizens that don't want to see those artifacts up for sale. The tribal administration themselves has said our history isn't for sale. So it's really causing a big stir here at Muskogee Creek Nation, and we had to have you in, Gary, because you've been following this story, covering it for the paper. And where are we at now as far as what's going on and how it's unfolding?
First of all, realize and remember this is a work in progress. Right. I have begun the initial research, but yet have yet to interview two key people who make decisions and very much carriers of some very important information. First of all, you are correct. About 200 pieces, from what I understand, of the museum's collection has been shipped north to Cowan's auction in Cincinnati. Big questions are, what's in the inventory, what's left here, which I understand there is a significant amount of material here. No one's shared any of that information on the inventory yet, and I don't know that there have been any appraisals yet. So we couldn't give you a dollar figure on what it's worth. One of the key questions is, why is this material which was donated by many people to the council house, why is it being shipped off for auction? And so Creek citizens have been commenting on like the Facebook page and other forums. Many of them are quite sad and depressed that our tangible history is being handled like this. So we're looking at what's been happening, what's going to be the future of it, and this sort of thing. And those are yet questions to be asked of some important people. We want to say that yes, the auction machinery is in motion. I believe the date is scheduled for September 20th for that to take place.
Okay.
But at the moment, there are discussions about how might that be changed. Could the tribe possibly purchase the items and keep them here, or what would happen to the money if they were sold and things like that? So there are key questions that really haven't been asked and had any response yet.
For yourself as a reporter, quite a bit of work goes into stories like this because, folks, I think if you're following it, you'll understand that under the surface, this is a big newsmaker on top. But under the surface, there's a lot of misinformation, it seems, because, you know, who was in the ownership of the artifacts? Why weren't the artifacts with the museum? You know, and things like this. And we talk about what happened there and this association. The Creek Council House Museum Association doesn't have any ties to the Creek Nation. You know, it's not under the Creek Nation, things like that. So, you know, did they have ownership? And sort of you look at what happened there, and I think people are going, well, you know, that should have been included, or this, you know, is part of our heritage. And as you said, donated items should not be up for sale. As our administration has said, our history, our artifacts, our culture is not for sale. You know, do you see a resolution or maybe some information coming out?
Information, yes. A resolution, I don't think so. And it's going to be a sad case, pretty much either way it goes. As you stated earlier, the sale of the council house was made, but the collection was not included. And from my understanding at this point, the association which ran the place was not included in the talks for the sale.
Okay.
So they were kind of left out of the mix.
Right.
They were wondering how much control would the tribe exert, what would happen. But those discussions have not ever, well, I won't say not ever, but hadn't really taken place. From what I understand from one of the members of the association, they had approached the tribal administration, and one of the two tribal employees who was charged with the museum development, and really got no response. At that point, they could have perhaps purchased that collection for probably a much cheaper price than what it's going to go for now. So we're looking at the association looking bad in some cases. Some people saying, you know, well, they didn't care what, you know, and they're just wanting to make money or things like that. And I don't think that's quite accurate. There's much more to the story. But we're also looking at, have to see what the response of the National Council is.
Right.
What part did they play or not play? They were approached, 6 months ago, I believe,
yeah.
and there had been no follow-up.
Yeah.
The tribal administration, Chief Tiger is concerned about their loss, but yet I really have never heard or seen anything coming out of that office that was charged with the museum development as to what they were doing in terms of trying to retain that collection or seeing the development of this beautiful picture we saw last year of a pyramid-shaped museum. You know, they've been pretty quiet yet. And everything has sort of been moved up to the chief's level, so where he is going to hold the key information.
Right.
So we'll have to ask him and the Speaker of the Council, Alexander, about what their thoughts are on the situation now and what their plans will be.
And according to the chief, there will be some coming news and information, press conference, and a lot of things probably then will be discussed and brought out, and a little bit of clarification. And it's important to note too that this sale was done a few years ago. There's been turnover. There's a lot of people that were involved are not even here anymore.
Right.
A lot of people involved didn't have anything to do with it then that do now. So it's a tricky situation, and we'll take a look at it and we'll keep you advised. Stay up on the Muskogee Nation News. Gary's really working hard, and getting all the pieces together so that the citizens are completely informed on what's going on. So, Gary, thanks for being with us this segment, and hopefully everybody knows a little bit more about it than they did before.
Well, we'll keep after it and try and clear the fog and make sure that we have all of our facts straight and everyone has a chance to share their opinions and thoughts on this situation.
All right, thank you.
Jehojefkat Paul Fixakodos. Ilkanagat Tekobache, Mikusapkajokonman, Amikusapkajokodos. I'm able to preach in English and Muskogee, our language too, so there's not many that does that today. When I was growing up, that's all we had, Muskogee language, and that's all they preach. I could talk my language when I was small. When I grew up, I could understand what they were saying. We don't want to lose that, language, especially our songs, our native songs and the Muskogee hymns. We want to keep them.
Well, Jason, as we talk about August and the dog days upon us, certainly, Mother Nature making her presence known in everything with the heat and everything, the environment certainly comes into important consideration.
You're exactly right, and we look at things like climate change, the different parts of heat and severe cold, and what it means to the environment. And the Intertribal Environmental Council, which that is exactly what they do. They key on those issues, those concerns, and they did that at their annual conference. They have the conference every year, a big deal. Started by the Cherokee Nation in the early 90s under the guidance of Wilma Mankiller when she was chief there. ITEC, Nancy John, they do such a great job, and they have a great conference every year. And this year at the Hard Rock there in Catoosa, we went up to visit with her about some of the new things that they're having going on, a big registration number that they've put up, so a lot of great things happening with the Intertribal Environmental Council, and this is their 2013 annual conference.
This year our registration, I think, is running somewhere around 230, 240. I want to say about 250 each year. I think that's excellent because we do not charge a registration fee. It's totally free. Anybody and everyone's welcome to attend. That's one of the things that we've strived to do these years. This is 18 years of it, so we're real proud of that. Even when budgets are tightening up, travel dollars are few and far, people are still able to come to this conference, and I think that's just a reflection on how important it is to all the tribal programs that participate, as well as all the other people that come too. One of the things that we like to do with our conference is the flexibility that we have. We're not just limited into, and people think traditionally EPA programs addressing the environmental concerns. What we try to do is incorporate other federal agencies. So we've got anywhere from Fish and Wildlife Agency joining us, BIA, we've got other tribes. We try to showcase what other tribes are doing too. And the topics can vary. It's just not tunnel vision within EPA.
We like to have the Environmental Services Department do a few presentations for the conference, and this year we're having a presentation on the Creek Nation Recycling Center, the Creek Nation Sustainable Construction Practices, and the Creek Nation Emergency Response Team. And my part is doing a presentation on the Recycling Center that we just opened up. It's a source of pride, like you said, and to have all the hard work we put into it, from just from the bare earth to actually having a up and going recycling center, you take a lot of pride in that, and the tribe should take a lot of pride in that because it's a very nice recycling center, and it's a pleasure to actually go out and showcase that to other tribes. Not everybody knows exactly what we do. They think we just environmental department. They really don't know, but. It covers a whole gamut of things, like you said, water quality, environmental assessments on land, mold, asbestos, lead-based paint, recycling, and basically whatever the tribe needs, that's what we do.
Today's my date of hire anniversary. 20 years of doing this in this arena with environmental work. When I first started, there were no tribes here within the state of Oklahoma that had an environmental program. And Cherokee Nation back then, when Wilma Mankiller was chief, was approached by EPA with some of the first initial funding that even went to a tribe within EPA's Region 6. And the concept that she wanted to share, and I remember meeting with her early on, back in the early 90s, was that there's going to be strength in numbers. That's how this ITEC, Intertribal Environmental Council, was formed back in the early 90s. And through that, I have had the privilege, I have been blessed with the opportunity to meet with so many tribal leaders from all the various tribes across the state to have their culture, their friendships that have been shared with me, and you know, I've been able to stand before a conference like today and look at the number of people in attendance, see new younger faces, appreciate the fact that young people are becoming involved. And from back when our very first, I want to say ITEC meeting, might have been 24 people, to see it evolve to about 250 people now. I've had that privilege of watch those tribal programs grow and advance, and to see all the great things. If we can showcase that every year, I hope we can continue doing it. But yeah, it's been a blessing for me.
Well, from time to time, we like to do those stories, those follow-up stories here, great stories that we have on Native News Today. A lot of them pertain to our museums. A lot of great things happening over at the Five Tribes Museum in Muskogee.
Great spot, Gerald. Great spot. And they've always been so gracious with us and to have us over, you know, and a lot of great people over there, friends of ours. And it's always wonderful to go visit. And today we will be showing you, we actually went the other day, but there's a new case, a new display from the Muskogee Creek Nation, and the tourism department working hand in hand with the Five Tribes Museum on getting this new display put up. A lot of new information. What's neat about it is it's showing the modern day Muskogee Creek Nation, all of our new business adventures and things like that. And so it's really neat for people to come in and see that and see a little bit of our past met with some of our present. It's a great spot, great looking display, and Brian on the Hill at Tourism had a big hand in it, and we were just glad to be able to go over as they unveiled it.
We're at the Five Civilized Tribes Museum here in Muskogee, Oklahoma this morning, and we're here to look at some of the changes that have been made to our display case. Will, Ryan, and I talked about what needed to go into the display case, and Will said we probably need to concentrate on what we're doing at the present time. What are we doing as a tribe? What makes us important? And so what we're doing at the present time is creating more businesses. We're expanding our diversity. And so what I concentrated on in the case, on some of the storyboards, are some of the businesses that we have. I also talked about the vision that Chief Tiger has for the tribe, for what's going to happen by the year 2020, hopefully. And then talked about what makes us perpetual, what makes us relevant to the history of the United States, what makes us relevant at the Five Civilized Tribes Museum. Why do we belong in a display case besides the other five tribes within the museum? And these are things that make us Muskogee. This is what makes us relevant. And so I also brought in some of the culture, some of the history. What are some of the things that people could see if they were traveling through our jurisdictional boundaries? And I also brought in some items that are relevant to our past as well as relevant to our contemporary life as well. I brought in one of the sifter baskets that's made by one of our Muskogee basket makers or basket weavers, Mary Smith. A yarn belt made by Sandy Fife Wilson, another Creek citizen. So it shows some of the things that we still use in our ceremonies that came from a long time ago. And one of the turtle rattles that's made by another Creek citizen, Richard Beaver. A water bottle that is reminiscent of the Mississippian style pottery that's made by Scott Roberts, and he's very well known for some of the things that he does with Mississippian pottery. And then a shirt that is a Muskogee ribbon shirt that's actually made by me. Very proud of that, and I was taught that by one of our citizens, Tom Barnett. He taught a class at our community center. And so this is one of the things I learned, this is one of the things I'm proud of and able to display in a case alongside some of our other very talented Muskogee artists. I'm very proud to be able to display that with them. And so these are the things that make us Muskogee. This is what makes us relevant in today and what also made us relevant in the past. And these are how we link the past into the present and then into the future. How we're going to keep being Muskogee, what we're going to teach our children, and what makes people know who we are.
We're very happy to have Creek Nation here working on their display for us. We have a case for each one of the 5 tribes, and they have just recently come in and put in new pieces and new information for us. And we're thrilled to work with each one of the 5 tribes.
It's really cool to work with the Five Civilized Tribes Museum, knowing that this used to be the agency where all the tribes used to come to get the things they needed or to talk about business, conduct business, and those kinds of things. And the staff here is really awesome, and we really enjoy working with them. And for them to call us and ask us to do something like this, it's really cool. You know, just to be able to work with those people and say, hey, we think this is what should go in here. I'm glad you called us, and we're glad we're able to put our spin on some things that are in your...
Well, Jason, maybe one day they'll invent a program called Native America's Got Talent.
They might. I mean, they almost did with this next story.
That's right. But for now, we've got to go with the popular show, America's Got Talent.
I know a lot of you out there that probably watch America's Got Talent. It's a very popular show. Howard Stern, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel. Man, Howie Mandel had some great movies in the 80s, man. Dude,
I never was much of a fan of.
Oh, come on, man. Okay, anyway. Well, Fine Mess with Ted Danson. Are you kidding me? Anyway, America's Got Talent, a great show. And if you've been watching it recently, I know a lot of natives out there are fired up about Mike Bone. It's Little Mike and Funny Bone, a little rap group duo from Oklahoma City. Those guys made it to America's Got Talent, actually made it to the final stages in Las Vegas. And they really impressed the judges there in their first roundup in San Antonio. And the guys did a great job. Now they're back home in Oklahoma City. And hey, they wanted to take a few minutes out and visit with Native News Today.
Yeah! Where are my crunk natives ass? It's Lil Mike and Funny Bone.
Native rappers Little Mike and Funny Bone have been entertaining Oklahoma fans for a while now. Recently made their mark on the national scene with a successful stint on the hit NBC show America's Got Talent. The exposure has led to a wave of excitement over the duo, and we recently caught up with them in their native Oklahoma City to talk about how they got started.
I did a poem to a beat at a elementary school. I was in middle school at the time, and some little kid was like, "Hey man, I like your rap," and I was like, "Man, I should probably try rapping." And so started rapping. I got played on a Christian radio station, and they did this kiss or diss thing, and everybody kissed it, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be a rapper. My whole thing was I don't want to be like them normal rappers. I wanted to actually perform. So I looked up to rappers like MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, anyone that danced and rapped, you know. So
I kind of helped him out with his set at first, where he was like changing out tracks. I wouldn't rap. I would just come up there and tell jokes, and like let him, you know, catch a breath and switch out the tapes. And then I slowly started to write my own stuff, and we got me on the track every now and then just kind of took off from there.
The guys also talked about the new experience of being on a nationwide hit TV show.
A lot of people, for some other people, it was a lot of nervousness, but we've been doing it so long, we were just excited to be.
It was just another show to us.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that they called us and wanted us to perform, you know, it's like they booked us, basically. So we were just going through the routine, doing it again.
The only nervous part that I had was on the flight over there. I do not like planes. Meeting all those talented people.
That was awesome. Meeting everybody, showing off trading talents, you know, the talent was amazing.
Growing up with many obstacles to overcome, the guys found it hard at times to envision how far they've come in their personal and professional lives.
I didn't really see my life turning out the way it is right now, because when I was growing up, I had an anger issue and just had to deal with a lot of different people and trying to be surrounded by people and having issues, and I snapped like that. It just wasn't clicking. And so, you know, I just saw myself either like in a mental institution or in jail, because, you know, I would just snap on people just like that. And so I did not see myself like this. But, you know, therapy and God helped me out, you know, and music.
I always knew I was a little different. And I was always entertaining people. I was a class clown type person, and I would always be entertaining. Sometimes not everybody liked it, the teachers. You know, they would get, you know, irritated and okay. And I'm more sarcastic, and I would make, you know, comments and jokes, and teachers would, you know, send me to the office, but everybody laughed. That was my thing. So I always knew I was meant to entertain, I guess. Now we're just doing it on a bigger scale, and I just want to give the world what God gave us.
Members of the Pawnee Nation, the duo embraces the platform they're on to be able to share a positive message to the Native community.
Because we're Native and we do this and it's all positive, I mean, I think we have to let people know that we're Native and why we do it, because it gives a sense of pride in why we do it. I mean, you can be good at something, but it don't mean nothing unless you do good with it. So that's why we do it, and a lot of the reservations and Native people out there now are just, you know, it's going down the drain. The culture is just, you know, sinking, and people they don't have pride in what they do anymore. I mean, especially the youth, you know, they just don't see a future, you know, and they're watching TV and listening to the wrong kind of music, and they're just, you know, doing drugs, selling drugs or whatever, or sleeping around. I mean, just going nowhere fast. And we just want to re-spark that light and let people know there is a future. You can make it happen.
Well, that just about wraps it up for another Native News Today program. As always, we appreciate you joining us here on every Saturday. Jason, just a quick plug here to our Creek Nation Transportation Program, serving our citizens in every way possible. A recent extension of the Highway 62 specifically from Okemah to Henrietta, being resurfaced, repaved. Charlie Lesarge and all those people at the transportation program doing such a great job for our citizens. That road was almost just untravelable. The potholes and everything just so terrible. Took it upon themselves last October, repaving it. And you know what? It is up now for the Oklahoma Asphalt Association, up for an award.
Oh, wow.
For the quality and the smoothness of the road.
That's fantastic.
So, again, congratulations to those guys.
You know, in tribal driveways and roads and that whole system there, you know, they provide such a service to not only the Muskogee Creek Nation, but the surrounding communities. You know, if you talk to any county commissioner or, you know, local guys like that, state senators, you know, the guys that, those kind of things are what they're charged with providing to the citizens. They recognize the help that they get from the Muskogee Creek Nation with things like that. And it's a big boost for us to be able to provide that, and also for our surrounding communities that we share homes with. And so it's a fantastic partnership, and just another example of community-to-community relation, government-to-government relation, whenever we can do something like that. And I know that it's a great partnership for the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Yeah, we always love to brag on those projects and those things going on that are great for the tribe and for Oklahoma as well.
You got it. Well, hey everyone, if you can't catch us here on CW 1219, we love it when you do, but you can catch us online. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, at Native News Guys. Search us on Facebook, Native News Today.
For our producer Jared Moore and all those here at Native News Today, in the meantime, you all take care. God bless.
And we'll be seeing you soon.